Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go!
Hey everyone, hope you're doing well and having a good time. I've got some exciting news for you. I've just launched a brand new channel called Crown Corner that I will be narrating stories on it daily myself. Let's just say that if you love hearing about unbelievable entitled people and those unforgettable Karens, you're going to love what's in store on the new channel. So here is what I need from you, my good friends. Head over to the new channel, you'll find a link in the description below, and hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you won't miss out on any of our wild stories. Your support means the world to me, and I can't wait to see you there. Let's keep the stories rolling. Thank you so much for being part of this journey with me. And now, let's dive into our stories. This didn't happen to me. I was more of a bystander that time. I was still a nursing student then, but because I was like in my last year, I worked like a registered nurse. And all of that was pre-COVID. So we are an academic hospital. So we've got a nursing school and new doctors come here to do their residency. The new resident, who is this kind of snobby young doctor everyone hates. He depended on the nurses for stuff like laying catheters, putting IVs in, and so on. But on the other hand, he talked down to the nursing staff and, well, just flirted with the young nurses. Male nurses like me are just men who were too dumb to become doctors. Yeah, really lovable kind of guy. We had a new patient with some allergies and so on. Hey, please give the patient X medication, which was a risky one. Turned out the patient wasn't allergic to that, but it was real possible that he could be. Yeah, I have to intervene. The patient could have had an allergic reaction to this. The senior nurse tried to tell him, but he cut her off. Hey, do you have a medical degree or do I? How about doing your job, nurse? It got silent. Deadly silent. Like in Western when the two gunslingers face each other. Every nurse, doctor, staff in earshot was deadly silent. All eyes laid on those two. The senior nurse smiled and said, fine. Right, you're the doctor. I'm the nurse. Then left. The new resident celebrated this as his big victory. It was like in prison, where the newbie defended himself and gained a bit of respect. But then came her sweet little revenge. Most nurses were at the front desk during that night shift. Just talking, drinking the third cup of coffee, doing paperwork and so on. The senior nurse came to all and said, hey, you may have witnessed what happened with a new resident. We are just nurses, you know. Maybe we should only do the minimal effort for his patients. As he's a doctor, and we're just nurses. Everyone liked that, so we did. Don't worry, nobody died. We are not in the ICU with deadly cases. He was the last one to receive the files he requested. His x-rays took longer than the ones of the other doctors, and no nurses were getting him anything non-work related when he asked for it. We don't have to, but if a doctor asks really nicely, we get him a cup of coffee or something. And then it comes, the glory day of revenge. It was after a round with the cool attending doctor, who was basically Dr. Cox from Scrubs. The new resident wasn't done with some of his diagnoses, because he had to get everything himself. All of his x-rays were at the front desk. No nurse was bothered to get it for him. He had the hands full with laying catheters and putting in IVs. Because most of the time he asked a nurse and, well, no nurse had time for him because they had some paperwork to do. Make some beds, change some bed pans, bring a patient to the x-ray because, you know, we are just nurses, and he had to work overtime more often to finish his work. He was not happy. A word, please. The new resident asked the attending doctor. The doctor was sipping his coffee while looking at an x-ray. Yes? Where can I complain about the nursing staff? The doctor puts down the x-ray, crosses his arms and asks, if you got complaints, you go to me first. I think the nursing staff is against me. Really? Well, no surprise, newbie. You treated them really badly. I'll tell you now one thing they seem to not have taught you in your fancy mid-school. The nurses are nearly running the hospital, and you screwed up with one of the senior nurses, and now you have to deal with it. The whole attending comes to rescue ended after mid-school. You understand me? The new resident looked like shocked Pikachu meme. While that, nearly the whole staff was watching this and a senior nurse was pleased. The new resident came crawling to apologize to her later that shift. Now he don't get the minimal treatment anymore, but not the maximal treatment like the attending doctor. He's still a little jerk, but the senior nurse taught him a valuable lesson. Don't mess with the nurses. Hello, I'm a lurker here, but since my relationship's anniversary is coming, I think I should share my encounter with an entitled person here, as it was when I realized my boyfriend was the one for me. I am doing this on mobile and English isn't my first language, so please forgive my mistakes. A preface: this story has me, 25 female tiny Vietnamese girl, living in the US since 9 years old, with an unusually shy yet cheerful personality who loves to read and is crazy for chocolate. And there is my brother, 20, male, short, choppy Vietnamese guy with some mental issues, but extremely intelligent and truly the sweetest boy ever. He loves dinosaurs and idolizes my boyfriend, and then there is my boyfriend, 29, male, tall and muscular, long-haired and bearded Brazilian guy. Despite his permanent mean look, he is extremely kind, intelligent, he's an engineer, and lovely. He loves my family as his own. Keep this last bit in mind, it's important. And of course, there is Karen and her entitled kid. This story takes place during 2018's December, a week before Christmas. My boyfriend and I were visiting my parents for the holidays and we wanted to go shopping for gifts in a shopping mall nearby. We decided to take my brother as well since he was bored at home and I wanted to spend more time with him. At the shopping mall, I decided to put my grand plan in motion. My boyfriend always surprises me on Christmas, but it would be my turn that year. I usually never ask him for anything, but this time I decided to ask him for something. Babe, can you get me a chocolate milkshake, please? I will wait in this library here with my brother. Okay, be right back. I picked this library for 3 reasons. His gift will be a book, as he loves reading just as much as I do. It was far away from McDonald's where he would get my milkshake, and more importantly, they had books with dinosaurs models. My boyfriend noticed it and it became the perfect alibi since my brother was around. Now is when things started to go wrong. I took my brother to the place where they kept the dinosaurs books way in the back and told him to pick a book and wait there. He picked even before I could stop talking. I left him there because the library was big and I had just a few minutes to buy my boyfriend's gift and hide it in my bag before he could see. I was maybe 10 minutes into my frenzied search for a book when I heard some loud voices from where I left my brother. There I saw the monstrous Karen yelling and trying to wrestle the book my brother picked from him, while her spawn cheered from the sides and a couple of workers, 2 teenage girls, stood there stunned not knowing what to do. I rushed there and yelled, "What are you doing?" "This freak doesn't want to give my baby the book, so I'm taking it." "Mommy, give me the T-Rex." I grabbed her fat arm, which was easily 5 times thicker than mine, and tried to pull her off of him. "Leave him alone. He picked it up first." "Stop lying and don't touch me, you witch." She then pushes me and faces my brother again. "Now you are word, son of a witch. Give me this book now." She shoved me and I landed on my butt some 4 feet away from her, stunned. This is when she started to push my brother really hard. On her 4th push though, my boyfriend came out of nowhere, tore that mastodon from my brother while pushing her and putting himself between my brother and her, who also fell on her butt. Now, I would like to say that he's usually very calm, very quiet, a guy of very few words, and I only saw him angry once, but even then he never raised his voice. This time was different. His face was pure, murderous anger, and he literally roared at the woman. "Don't you dare hurt my brother," he shouted at her. I was shocked to see him like that, but Karen went from red to white and her kid went on mute. Another employee came dragging a security officer, and Karen screamed that she was assaulted. My boyfriend, again calm as if nothing happened but angry as hell, explained his side of the story. I explained what happened, the teenager employees did the same, cameras were checked and the bruises on my poor brother were looked at. The police were called and everything got reviewed. Turns out that Karen already had her problems with the law, and the only reason why we didn't press charges is because we just wanted to finish shopping and go back home as soon as possible. She was arrested anyway, so why bother? In the end, my boyfriend had to go buy another milkshake for me since He dropped it when he rushed to aid my brother, and I used the time to buy his book and my brother's with a huge discount. Later, when we were calmer, I started to analyze the whole situation and what he did. He looked scary, but the way he did that was so cool. He called my brother his brother and protected him so ferociously. It was like watching a lion protecting his band. My parents were so grateful they almost cried. They liked him before and now they loved him to the point of calling him son. And my brother started to get along with him even better than before. You guys should see them playing Street Fighter together. It's so wholesome and funny. And me, well, let me just say one thing. We're getting married as soon as this whole COVID thing is over. Oh yeah, and he was surprised with the book. Mission accomplished. Hello. The following story is about my husband's entitled stepmother and the backstory is going to be long, so buckle up and get your popcorn. Backstory. My husband is the only child from his parents' marriage. After his parents divorced, his dad remarried, his mom did not. When his dad had kids with his new wife, my husband was treated very poorly by this woman. Her kids were angels and could do no wrong, and my husband was always a bad seed. When I dated my husband, I heard the stories and honestly just thought she really couldn't be that bad. But boy was I wrong, because she had always looked down upon my husband and thought he was beneath her. That meant as a woman who married him, I must be beneath her too. Things weren't too bad until we started having kids and then her entitlement began and so did her comments. She constantly commented on how bad we were as parents and how we didn't dress or feed our kids properly. She was very hard on me that I was unable to breastfeed my kids. I tried but just couldn't produce enough milk. Told me that I was so terrible that my kids were raised on formula and how something must be wrong with me if I couldn't produce enough milk and my kids were going to suffer because of it. This woman would constantly talk about how well her children had turned out to be and how much of an excellent mother she was. They didn't turn out well at all and she wasn't that great. And how we would be better parents if we just listened to her and did what she said. In fact, when our second child was born and we told her what his name was, she didn't like it, and she proceeded to tell us that we picked an awful name, and she would call him by his middle name. I put my foot down and told her that if we wanted to call him by his middle name, we would have named him that. I said his name is this, and that is what we will be calling him, and then dared her to say another word. Yes, this woman really exists. She's so bad that I only refer to her as a woman who is married to my father-in-law. Also, our first son has autism, and although we knew he was different, we didn't find out exactly about his condition until he was older. Because of this, when he got old enough to remove his clothes and diapers, he would. No matter where he was, he would always end up naked as a jaybird. As a baby and toddler, it wasn't too much of an issue when he would take off his shirts and pants, but it was a big deal when he would remove his diaper. Imagine chasing a 1-year-old around with a diaper and hoping he didn't make a mess before you could catch him. It was exhausting. I finally resorted to using duct tape. Yes, you heard that right, I started using duct tape. Now, before you get upset, I didn't wrap the duct tape all the way around him, I would just put the diaper on him, snug enough he couldn't push it down, but not too tight, and then tear off 2 small pieces of the duct tape and place each piece over each of the diaper closures. The duct tape will prevent my son from unfastening the diaper and getting out of it. Now you can imagine that the woman who is married to my father-in-law took offense to this. She would just go on and on about how horrific it was that I did that and that it was bad enough to be considered child abuse and how I was letting my white trash show. I would just ignore her and go on. Now on to the story that happened 16 years ago when my son was a year old. He's now 17, and this is one of his favorite stories. Happy answered the door one day and I could tell that he was talking to his dad. After Hubby hung up, he let me know that we had been invited/ordered to come over for a visit. Father-in-law had installed some brand new expensive carpet for Karen in their house and she was wanting to show it off. I was looking to get out of the house and we don't usually stay too long, so I figured it wouldn't be a big deal, and so we decided to go for a visit. So we grabbed a diaper bag, which contains the duct tape, some toys and a few snacks and juice, and headed out. When we got to the house, we were instructed to wipe our shoes on the welcome mat and asked to remove them before entering the house if there was too much dirt that the welcome mat couldn't handle. We went inside and I can see the very nice carpet that was installed. It wasn't exactly white, but it was very light and I could tell it was very expensive. I mentally notated jokingly that if I had this carpet in my house, I wouldn't let people wear shoes either. We put our stuff down, took a seat, and put my son on the floor, who proceeded to feel the soft carpet. And Karen was smiling very smug because she could tell how much son was enjoying the softness of the carpet. She proceeded to inform us that no food or drinks were allowed in the living room and that if our son wanted his juice, he would have to drink it in the kitchen. Again, this was a nice carpet and I had no problem with this because I wouldn't want people eating/drinking on my carpet either if it was this expensive. Anyways, after being there for about 20 minutes, I started feeling a headache coming on and I didn't bring any Excedrin with me. Father-in-law offered me some aspirin, but that never helps when I get a headache. I told him that I could just run down to Walmart, which is less than a mile away, and I could get some Excedrin and we'll be fine. Hubby was going to drive me and so we started to pack up my son. It was at this point Excedrin and Karen encouraged us to leave him. They said we were just going down the road, wouldn't be gone too long, and they didn't mind at all watching our son while we were gone. We relented and I told Karen that our son shouldn't have any problems because we had fed him before we came over. Juice is in a diaper bag along with the duct tape, but he had a dry diaper on. So he was happy and should be no trouble. She said she wasn't worried and that they would look after him. Now, on our way to Walmart, I asked hubby if he thought Karen would change our son's diaper because she doesn't like him wearing diapers with duct tape on them. And hubby said she probably would. I told him that I would be very upset if she did because that would be a waste of a good diaper and they are expensive. So we get to Walmart, go to the pharmacy area, and get some Excedrin and pay and leave more quickly than I had expected. We got back to father-in-law's house after being gone for about 20 minutes. Even after 16 years, I can remember the scene like it was yesterday as we entered the house. So if you're from an older generation from this house, you will understand what it means when you say someone is having the vapors. For everyone else, let me explain. Having the vapors is similar to a meltdown, only more dramatic. It involves dramatic heavy in and out breathing, almost like a panic attack, but bad acting, fake-like. And the very overly dramatic head gestures of fanning yourself with both hands very quickly, all at the same time. We walked in the door and I can hear our son down the hall screaming, not in panic, more like a scream you hear when someone is being chased playfully. And Karen is on the couch having the vapors in such a way that I considered it an Oscar-winning moment. I then looked down at the very nice, light and expensive carpet and I can see a yellow line that started near one area of the room where a pile of son's clothes and diapers were and followed it around the room and down the hall. It also included smudges of brown and I instantly knew what happened. Father-in-law was trying to chase son down who thought he was playing a game of chase and Karen was half screaming over her ruined carpet in between her dramatic gasps. I just glared at her and said, "I see you put a diaper on him. You knew the duct tape was in a diaper bag. There was nothing wrong with the diaper he had on." Hubby says, Karen, breathlessly, "Look at my carpet. It's ruined. He ruined my new carpet." Father-in-law to Karen trying to calm things down. "He didn't do it on purpose. He's a baby. It's your damn fault. You shouldn't have taken him out of his diaper. If he actually needed diaper change, then you should have used the duct tape." I told her. Karen gets mad and says, "I'm not going to use duct tape on him. He doesn't need it." Me dramatically gesturing with my hands at the entire stained area. Then this is what you get. I turned to pick up our son who was blissfully unaware of the issue at hand and was kinda upset that father-in-law had quit chasing him. I grabbed the diaper bag and son and headed to the bathroom to clean him up. Put on a new diaper on him with a duct tape and didn't bother putting a shirt or pants on him because I wanted to leave as soon as possible. By the time I was finished and entered the living room, Karen was half crying and half yelling. Hubby had picked up the previously discarded clothes and other items we had brought and was waiting by the door. And father-in-law was trying to clean the carpet before any stains set in. I headed straight to the door with our son on hip and diaper bag over my shoulder and announced we would not be coming back. We made it to the car, put our son in the car seat, who was trying to get his diaper off, and started the drive home. Happy couldn't stop smiling. He was so proud of our son for just being him, and that Karen was dealt a dose of instant karma. I have to admit that I was proud of our son too and couldn't hide my smile anymore than Hubby could.
And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.